Barney, you told me there would be no music this year. Thank you so much, Barney. And I'm delighted to be here and to see all of you. I see so many friends from law enforcement in this audience, and particularly Kathy Lanier, sitting right up front here, because I was a prosecutor in Washington, D.C. for many years, and I learned just about everything I know about investigating a case, prosecuting a case, talking to people who don't want to talk to you, from the police officers at MPD, so I'm grateful. And I'm thrilled to be here with Barney and with the Deputy Attorney General, Jim Cole. Thanks, Barney, to you and to your staff, not just for this conference, but for everything you do for law enforcement every day. The COPS Office has been a vital partner to the Office of Justice Programs, and both of our agencies are fully committed to working together to meet the needs of law enforcement now and as we go forward. I was a former acting director of the COPS Office, so I want to applaud each and every one of the COPS Office staff members for the work that you do. COPS has really made some significant, real contributions to policing, and I'm thrilled to see that work continue under Barney's leadership. Let me commend each of you, our nation's law enforcement leaders and officers, and all of our other partners in public safety. Thanks to you and to your counterparts across this country, crime rates continue to drop. And considering what you face in terms of budget constraints and staffing constraints, that is truly remarkable. As you know, this year's conference focuses on evolution and change in the policing profession. And to say that this is a time of great change for law enforcement is a major, major understatement. Technology, for instance, it's now indispensable in preventing, responding to, investigating, and solving crimes. Data, research, they are informing day-to-day public safety strategy in a whole new way. And the scope of law enforcement responsibility has expanded enormously, and that continues. The profession looks so different today from the way it looked when COPS first opened its doors 18 years ago, and some of you will remember that. But while the landscape has changed significantly, some challenges remain the same. And among the biggest challenges that we face are the threats, sometimes deadly threats, that law enforcement officers encounter on a daily basis. The statistics on the number of officers who are injured and killed in the line of duty are not just troubling, they are unacceptable. I believe, and the Department of Justice believes as well, that just as you work hard to protect us every day, we have an obligation to do everything in our power to protect you. You'll note that this conference is offering several sessions on the subject of officer safety. So you'll have an opportunity to hear about some of the work we're doing to fulfill that responsibility. Personally, I will never forget the many, many funerals of police officers that I attended when I was an assistant U.S. attorney here in Washington, D.C. And particularly searing is the memory of the first time that in my career, one of our officers was just gunned down. And Kathy, you may remember the officer sitting at a red light in a neighborhood where there are a lot of clubs and things like that. He's waiting for the red light to change, and someone came out of a club, held a gun up to his head, and just fired away. No previous exchange, not even any eye contact. I will never forget that. And every time we talk about our responsibility to keep our officers safe, I'm reminded of that incident. So we are active partners with the COPS office in the Officer Safety and Wellness group at the department. And there are several, just really a wide array of programs and endeavors that we are undertaking through the Officer Safety and Wellness group. OJP's Valor Initiative has trained over 5,200 officers to help them identify and prevent deadly encounters and to improve their survivability. And one of the ways that we learned about what should go into that curriculum is that we had researchers interview these guys who actually have been involved in officer fatalities. Why did you choose that officer? What was going on? What drew your attention to this particular officer? We learned a lot, and we based our curriculum on what we learned from them. We've had great feedback about how helpful that curriculum is. We continue, as you know, to administer the Bulletproof Vest Partnership and the Body Armor Safety Initiative. Last year, we awarded more than $24 million to help 5,000 jurisdictions purchase 188,000 protective vests. And in 2011, in the first 6 months of this year, 47 officer lives were saved because of bulletproof vests. 24 of those officers were actually wearing vests that were purchased with federal funds. We're also doing a lot of research to support officer safety and wellness. And OJP continues to provide funding through our Burn JAG program, of course, to help law enforcement officers do their jobs well and do their jobs safely. This year, we will award more than $295 million to support state and local criminal justice efforts. So it's all about training, equipment, funding, and sharing information that the COPS office and OJP are working together to protect law enforcement officers, to help them ensure their own safety on the job. And believe me, we will not fall down on that responsibility. We also want to make sure that you have the support and the confidence of the folks in the communities that you protect. Barney has been a huge proponent of community involvement in crime prevention and crime reduction efforts. And he is very keen on strengthening the relationships between you, law enforcement, and your communities. We share that interest and that passion. Key to that is earning the community's trust. And that hinges on making sure that what law enforcement is doing is perceived as, we use the word legitimate, in the eyes of the community. Staff from our office is working with the COPS office on this issue, which is called procedural justice and police legitimacy. And COPS is now working with Professor Tom Tyler of Yale to help develop and pilot test a training curriculum for officers on procedural justice. Tom Tyler's an amazing guy, and you'll have a chance to hear from him during the course of the conference. Don't miss that. It's quite remarkable. So we'll be working then with the Police Executive Research Forum to take that curriculum and use it as part of an effort to improve the perceptions of law enforcement in minority communities. I know that this kind of issue is a huge concern to police chiefs and sheriffs across the country. So I'm very pleased that so many departments are interested in that issue, and I feel very honored that we've been able to partner with COPS to address it. OJP also generates a lot of information that is very useful to law enforcement. I think that the critical question here is, how do you get that information out there to folks in a way that is accessible, digestible? You are busy practitioners, and you don't have time to be reading journals and studies. So we take that very seriously. In my view, one of the most serious obligations that we as feds have is to get the information out there in a useful way. So last year at the Office of Justice Programs, we launched a website, and it's called crimesolutions.gov. And on that website, you will find a compendium of over 200 programs that have been evaluated and rated based on the evidence that proves that they work. So, you know, you always see that phrase, evidence-based practice, evidence-based this and evidence-based that. When you apply for your grants, you're going to want to be thinking about what is evidence-based that I could implement in my community. This is a great resource for you to use to find programs and practices that actually have been proven to work. And you can go as deep as you want into that database. If you want to read the methodologies and so on, you can go that far. If you want just a quick and dirty, useful summary so that you can get an idea of whether you might want to learn more about that, you can do that too. So I hope that you'll find crimesolutions.gov useful. And if you don't find the kind of program that you need on the site, please go back, because we're adding new programs every single week. So providing this kind of information, strengthening relationships, helping to protect officers, these are all the ways that we in OJP are trying to meet our responsibility to you. I'm lucky to have Barney as a partner in that work, and most of all, I'm really, really proud to have the opportunity to work with each and every one of you. In spite of the challenges that you face, and they are significant, you have managed to make our communities safer and better places to live, and you have made our justice system stronger. I know that you do this at incredible sacrifice to yourselves and to your families, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.